All right. Wonderful.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so just play like I'm not even here.
Continue?
Go ahead.
Okay. So essentially, given that when it comes to investment in this sector, the bulk of it, comes from our foreign partners. It was important that certain incentives, certain things are put in place to facilitate, foreign investment, to facilitate the way in which business is carried out, be it the administrative side, the judicial side, or in different respects. And as a result, our OHADA law was looked at by a committee, an examining committee that was put in place by the Prime Minister's office. And as a result, these amendments were enacted and they were presented to the public. Now, we as legal minds, we reviewed the amendments, these innovations, and we saw, the spirit of progress. We saw that a lot of, obsolete clauses. We can see a lot of EIGs or cooperatives or the now, well, I'll not say now, but gradually JICs. JICs are being put out of order and in favor of cooperatives. That is, there is no law that principally says that, but there was a time when a letter was circulated by, I think, from the Prime Minister's, was which office? There was a letter which stated that gradually. There's a circular letter, yes, from the Prime Minister's office which basically stated that gradually JICs will be going out of fashion, and then we are now going to have solely cooperatives. In essence, that was to reflect the OHADA provision, because in most other member states of the OHADA, what exists is cooperatives. JICs is really something that is Cameroonian. You go to most other members of the OHADA states, JICs really don't exist. They rely on cooperatives. So, in a way to unify, to harmonize, to ensure that these rules apply universally in each state, they are taking out stuff which could create, conflict tomorrow, and putting in those that pretty much streamline and ensure that the waters are not muddied. And then, of course, we have branch of companies, which still is prescribed by this branch and from Francis Succursale, who they are. No.
Filial.
Ouais, parce que Succursale, c'est. Non, Succursale. Yeah,
Subsidiary.
It's subsidiary.
Subsidiary.
Yeah. See that? This French. It's what we call in English active partners in sleeping partnerships. En français, Société en commandité simple, ou SCS. Société en commandité simple, ou SCS. In this kind of partnership, there are two classes of shareholders. We have the former, being the active partners, and they are definitely jointly and severally liable for the partnership's debts. And then we have sleeping partners, which are liable only to the extent of their contributions. Why is this? Why has OHADA made this possible? Let me give an illustration. I formed a partnership with my brother here, right? And we established that, okay, maybe because I'm a manager or I have some controlling stake in the company, I decide that, liability is unlimited. You want to invest in this business, but you don't want to be liable to the extent of being unlimited. So what do you decide? We cannot say, or the law cannot say, no, you're not going to invest because you don't want your liability to be unlimited. Rather, what the law does is it gives the opportunity for somebody to invest in a company without necessarily carrying that kind of liability. Why does the law do this? A company grows as a result of an increase in capital. So the law does not want to limit the chance for capital to grow simply because somebody wants to limit his liability. So you see the spirit here is behind having the company grow without necessarily looking at, what liabilities are attached to different parties. So you see here that the interest of the company as a moral person is taken into penultimate consideration. Now we have other forms of companies which are rare and pretty much that can serve as a joint venture. But how do you formalize that? You definitely have to seek formalizing services from either the notary and have this registered so that it is seen as an official engagement between the parties. Now, we have de facto companies. The law understands that capital is a limitation for people to carry out business. The law understands that even you could have an entrepreneur here who might have a brilliant idea, but might not have the means to finance the procedure for incorporation. That is what a de facto company is. A de facto company is a company that is in existence by virtue of the fact that a Constituent General Assembly has been held, the Articles of Association have been issued and stamped, but the formalities for registration have not been completed. Companies are registered in Cameroon. Here at the Court of First Instance, they have their company registry, the RCCN, Registre de Commerce et de Crédit Immobilier. That is the company. Sorry? Yeah, they are trade register, which is where companies are registered. Now, a de facto company is a company that's carried out all these other formalities, save that registration formality. Now, the law is not, per these amendments, is not interested in saying that this company follows all formalities before business starts, before business activities start taking place. It gives an opportunity for these persons within this structure to go ahead legally, and I think that's the key word here. Whereas the de facto company previously had certain limitations, now, by virtue of the fact that the law seeks to encourage the growth and establishment of as many companies as possible, has limited, has kind of made obsolete that requirement that you must follow certain formalities in order to be legal, in order to be considered a legal entity. Now, we look at economic interest groups, wherein corporate structure, those small entrepreneurs who don't have the means or the know-how to go about their business activities. When I talk about small, I'm talking of maybe this our provision shop owners. You have call boxers. You have persons who are engaged in little businesses, tailors, snack owners. Most of these people engage in business without having the required licenses, the required permits. Why? Is it that they don't have the cash to finance it, or they don't know? I think it's twofold. It's that they either don't have the means to facilitate the attainment of such formality, or they don't know how it is done. Under unlimited liability companies, we have general private partnerships, and in French we will call it Société en nom collectif, ou SNC. General private partnerships. In French we will call it Société en nom collectif, ou SNC. In this kind of structure, all the partners have commercial status and have unlimited joint and several liability for partnership debts. So if the company decides to dissolve today, and I am a creditor, I can go against all the partners who claim my debt, or I can go against just one of them. That's why I always recommend people do limited liability companies, because when you have an etablissement, when you have a small company and it's unlimited, if the creditor cannot satisfy himself against what the company owns, you can come to your house and start auctioning things. That is just what the law says.